What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Diablo 4, because I have been playing a ton of the new closed beta that's taking place this weekend. In fact, I've already put 10 hours into it in just the first day. I've almost hit max level, I've reached the actual physical limits of the map itself, I've cleared a bunch of dungeons, and I've even tested a bunch of co-op. And I want to talk about the goods and the bads, the positives and the negatives, because as fun as this game is, it does have some things that deeply concern me. Let's talk about that. Hi, if you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, normally in these style of videos, I like to start off with the goods because, this is a game that I feel like is going to be a huge bestseller for Blizzard, and additionally, it is fun to play, but when it comes to the downsides of it, there is a major issue that I feel like people are going to need to discuss. This is always online. It needs an internet connection. In fact, you are perpetually connected to the Blizzard servers. In fact, it doesn't seem like you can really even play this by yourself. This game introduces a completely new concept that I've never seen before, but I want to call it living world experience. So when you log in, you don't really choose single player or multiplayer. Instead, you just drop onto the map, you make your character, and you start to explore. But while you're going through dungeons or doing different random quests that pop up, you will occasionally see other players just running around the map. They can actually help you out. So even though they're not directly in your party, they can really assist you in some very hairy situations against tough elites. Now, when this works, I think it is actually quite glorious. I've already made some friends and talked to them in voice chat because the Diablo community is just so nice. But the downside of this is, since it is always online and perpetually connected, that means that the server capacity is finite. There was a 2-hour login queue yesterday. Yes, you heard me correctly. When the beta initially launched, I just booted it up on my PlayStation 5. I tapped X to log in, expecting to jump straight into the action, and instead, I had to sit there staring at the login screen for 2 hours before the game even began. Now, I was able to play the Resident Evil 4 remake because I'm working on that review, so it's not like I was completely bored, but this kind of sucks. Imagine the soccer dads and stuff that don't have 10 hours a day to play video games like I do. That 2-hour login queue was especially painful because there were random disconnects. There is a lot of people yesterday who took off work and ended up sitting in queue for 5 or 6 hours just to play a decent chunk of the game itself. But let's actually talk about how this plays. So for this first beta, we have access to 3 of the 5 classes. You can play as the barbarian, who's like the heavy weapons expert, the person that can use axes and blades and really jump around the map. There's the rogue, whose speciality is basically traps, poisons, bows, being able to really assassinate these demonic targets. And the character I decided to play as, which was actually the very interesting sorcerer. Now, this is a spell slinger who specializes in 3 elemental types: lightning magic, fire magic, and ice magic. When I first went into this beta, I really wasn't sure what to expect when it came to balancing. In this, you can only play the first 25 levels. It seems like max level in this game is going to be 50. I was able to play up to level 25. But what I really loved most about Diablo 4 is that it really feels like every specialization is great. No matter how you build your character, they feel fantastic. Like initially, when I first started playing, I went purely fire. I learned to just shoot blowtorches out of my freaking hands, and I sent people back to the fiery depths of hell. I got these interesting talents that made it where I could just channel a huge laser beam of fire and it would pierce enemies. So I treated it like a magma lava shotgun, and I was loving playing that for a long time. About 4 or 5 hours into it, I decided to sort of switch gears and go more towards an ice bullets spec. I have this ability called Ice Shards, which does this single target damage, but definitely feels like something that's made for burning down bosses. I also got Frost Nova, which allowed me to freeze everybody around me every 15 seconds. And then you could even specialize, which a bunch of passive bonuses. So I got a skill where if somebody was frozen, they'd take additional damage. But what's most fun about Diablo 4 is that you start to get different items with unique abilities on them. Stuff that's going to boost the heck out of your power to electricity or fire or frost. So you end up trying out those skills more. At first, I completely dismissed electricity. It felt like the skills just weren't particularly powerful. But then I discovered a skill called Chain Lightning. This shoots a tiny spark towards my enemies, but then it can bounce between different foes. Now, initially, I was like, okay, that's kind of neat. But then I started to unlock passive bonuses that made it where it would actually have a higher chance to crit for each person it jumped to. Or if it jumps back to me and then hits them a second time, it does a huge boost of bonus damage. So now the way I started to play my character is I would run into a group of enemies, shock them, and then let it bounce off me and just start to liquefy even level 20 elites. D4 already feels like the kind of game where you get excited with every single new talent point, going into the skill trees and just testing out, what does this combination of abilities do? Which passives are going to give me the highest damage per second? Now, additionally, I like the way that the skill trees work. It's cool that you can just reset it whenever you want for incredibly cheap. It charges you like a tiny bit of in-game gold to redo your talent points. But I mean, it's literally pennies. It doesn't even matter. But it's cool that you can just test out, all right, what if I go full-blown fire mage? What if I go full-blown ice mage? It feels good to try and test out the limits of each of the characters, saying, okay, which specializations will work best, or which moods will actually fit my team. So during the online play, this is probably what really intrigued me the most. Is you can, when you see people roaming around in town, I decided to just join a random clan and start to team up with them. And when you have a party of people, you get an experience bonus. It subtly encourages you to mow down people even faster. There's even these different class quests where each person can unlock a new enchantment slot, which basically gives you a unique super spell that you can make. I think it's cool that I ended up doing the full barbarian quest line with one friend. I did the full assassin rogue quest line with one friend, and then they helped me out doing my sorceress quests. It was so incredibly fun. The built-in existing community, the people that are excited for Diablo, that are playing Diablo. I mean, I'm actually just so fascinated to level up every single character, to play a hardcore character, which is a thing where when your character dies, they get deleted. Already, just tinkering with the itemization and the crafting systems, Diablo 4 feels incredibly deep, but it also feels a bit like an MMORPG. Now, to me, I love MMOs, so I'm completely on board for that. I have literally over 10,000 hours in World of Warcraft, and I'm not proud to say that, but I mean, I've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of Final Fantasy XIV and stuff. So seeing Diablo kind of shift towards an MMO focus, I'm not completely against that. Now, the reason I say this feels like an MMO is the perpetual existing community. Those people that are just running around, that are looking to party up, that are trying to get that next big boss down. The developers have even triggered these weird, timed world event bosses where a super baddie will show up and people have to actually log in at a particular time to fight it. That to me definitely feels like raid night in a normal MMORPG. A lot of the crafting systems and stuff, you can actually find very good items, but you can also dismantle stuff and upgrade a current piece you enjoy, or take a particular elemental type or a bonus off one piece of gear and then imprint it onto a different piece of gear. The level of customization here definitely feels more like a MMO, for better or for worse. If you're looking for a game that can suck you in for months and months and months, that's definitely what this is trying to be. They have already said they're kind of pushing back some of the biggest pieces of Diablo IV to try and make them as post-launch content. Two major things they've already pushed back to post-release content is item sets, which are incredibly important to end-game content, and runes, which is basically spell crafting. It really seems like they're trying to already set the stage for this being a 6-month grind fest of log in, do your daily quests, complete these bonuses to try and unlock that next big chunk of cash. I'm definitely open-minded to this, but I am very curious to see what Diablo IV looks like 6 months after launch. What is this going to look like in December? What is this going to look like in summer of 2024? Personally, I'm totally on board for it. I love this beta. There's another open beta next weekend where they're unlocking every single class. I'm going to beat the whole thing again. I love the story they have in this demo so far. It's so dark. It's so creepy. This is the macabre, messed up, retro Diablo that many of us have been craving. And I gotta say, huge thumbs up. Diablo is back. But these have just been my thoughts. What do you think about Diablo IV? Positives, negatives, happiness? Did you hit those server queues, those login times? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.